I feel like a weight has been lifted off my shoulders, in spite of the fact that we just had a massive snowstorm that dropped 14 inches of snow at our house, that it was 5 degrees this morning, and that I had to plow for close to 4 hours yesterday and 3 hours the night before. Oh yay, this door opens. The other door was completely frozen shut. Yay! Step number 1.
Hi, we're Matt and Kristina. We live in an off-grid, eclectic hobbit house nestled into the mountains of Colorado. After waiting for our new Ford Transit Trail Edition van for over 8 months, we've decided to throw in the towel and buy a new 2022 four-wheel drive Mercedes Sprinter. After building out Clarity 1 and traveling for 3 years, we've missed van life, and we're excited to finish building out our new home on wheels and getting back on the road.
The reason I feel lighter is because I let go of thinking that the coming winter was going to keep me from making progress on this van build. Kristina will tell you it's been hell being around me. The problem is I have this entire van build in my head. The way I'm wired, I see my world in 3D pictures. Translating what I see into words takes energy and time. When I feel pressed for time, I get super impatient with people and with how long things seem to take. For instance, this electrical system, although somewhat complex, is simple in my mind. So if you can imagine, this is the side of the van and this is the wheel well. So my batteries, they will be turned upright, are going to be sitting on top of a shelf on top of the wheel well, and this is going to be my shelf bracket here that I will actually tie into, and the shelf will come out like that and down and completely cover up this wheel well so that I can insulate it, and then I'll have a bunch of storage out on that side. I definitely have room for these batteries. I have room for my battery to battery charger, my solar charge controller, my inverter, and my shore power charger, all here, and they'll tie in with a couple of bus bars here, and all the wiring will just be right there. It's going to be very easy to do. So I'm wiring up the charging systems today and getting it all laid out, and then cutting the wire and attaching things. So it's a puzzle, and I'm taking my time doing it a little bit at a time, trying to make sure that everything is going to line out. I ran out of butane in my lighter, and because it's raining today and we really don't have any sun, I don't want to use my heat gun to do this, which is what I usually do to heat shrink. So I just went in and did it over the stove. It worked great. I added a little complexity by wiring up an alternative input for solar panels from the carport I want to build down the road, so I can keep the system charged while the van panels are in the shade under the carport. Now I'm installing the shore power inlet, which is just a 15 amp shore power inlet because I don't have a lot of power on this van as far as AC requirements. But I was originally planning on putting it in the bumper down here. I looked all over to try and figure out a way to either cut through the body of the van or whatever I need to do to get into this bumper piece, and there really is just no way. So what I've decided to do instead is put it right here on the side of the van in the back, because that's going to make it super easy on the other side where my electrical system is going to be on the panel right behind there. So you can see on the inside here, this is such easy access, and it's just going to be beautiful and easy to do. And my inlet line just needs to come in right here and connect to a receptacle box right up here. So very simple. And then the other thing I need to do, I'm going to put another inlet down here that's a 20 amp inlet, and that is going to connect up to remote solar panels so that when we're in the carport that we haven't built yet, I'll be able to just take those solar panels and plug the output from the solar panel right into here, and it'll go right into my charge controller, and it'll be just sweet and easy to set up. The other difference between the Transit Trail and the Sprinter is this Sprinter has huge wheel wells, at least as big as the ones that were in the ProMaster, which was our first van that we built out. So if you had watched our previous videos, you'll know that I spent like an entire afternoon working with figuring out how I was going to put all this charging equipment and batteries in the Transit Trail, and now all that went out the window. The other thing I wanted to say is this particular van came with panels all around the sides, and they're plastic lightweight panels, but the advantage to that is that they actually have holes in them where all the holes are in the side of the van already, and those are ideal places for me to put those riv nuts in. So I have a template already set up, and you can see down here where I've marked where the holes are going to go for the riv nut. So all I have to do is drill those out and widen out those holes a little bit to fit a 1/4 20 riv nut, and boom, I'll be able to put that up. The frustration comes in when I not only add building a place to put all this in the space I've allotted myself above the rear wheel well, but it mostly comes when I can put it together in my mind in a couple of days. But it actually takes nearly 2 weeks to lay out, figure out how I'm going to build the shelf and the wheel box, build them, install each component, and then custom cut each wire to length, and one lug at a time, cut, strip, crimp, and heat shrink each connection. Multiply that process by every step and try to communicate to a loving, enthusiastic partner or a friend who wants to help in a concise way that empowers them to make progress on their own, and you'll be living my nightmare. So speaking of screw-ups, even though Kristina tried to tell me like 3 times that the holes didn't line up when we made the adjustments from using this template, I didn't really capture what she was trying to say, and I thought I had it all handled. If you look right here, right now, when this is lifted up to the right height, these holes line up with the holes where the plus nuts are. And what we did is we moved the whole thing back here 3/4 of an inch, but didn't make the adjustment for the holes by moving those over 3/4 of an inch. So I marked all those holes at a separate time from the time we were doing that, and drilled them and thought we were all good, and they work great when this is set 3/4 of an inch back. But 3/4 of an inch is 3/4 of an inch, and that makes a difference in the overall dimension and how much space we have in the cabinets and blah blah blah. So my choice is I drilled new holes, and now I'm going to have holes that are going to show around the bottom. And well, you know, it's back here in the garage, so does it really matter? I don't know, maybe I'll figure out some way to make them look better, but I think I'm just going to use it. I'm not going to waste a $110 piece of plywood. So before I go on with this side, I'm going to actually use that piece as a template to mark the other side of the van because it's going to be exactly the same, and it needs to be a mirror image because this is our bed support as well as mounts for the electrical and water system. So as you can see, I put angle aluminum on here to rest this shelf onto. I bolted it through the back, and then I put another one on this side, and I actually, on both of these on the bottom, I drilled and tapped into the aluminum and then bolted to that. So this thing is solid. Any good boater has lots of straps, loop straps and whatever, and I also happen to have these D-rings around. So I'm going to be able to just set the batteries in here and strap them down. The other thing that I did is I put slots in this section so that it goes through the aluminum as well as through the supporting wood structure. And so this has got some really solid support for those straps. By good boater, I mean river rafter. That is solid. Well, I ran short 4 ring terminals yesterday, but then I had to plow before it got dark, and actually into the dark a little bit, and this is what's happened since I plowed. It looks like we have about another maybe 4 inches since I plowed last night. Gonna give me some work to do today. When I went out to plow yesterday, Kristina shoveled off the front walkway, and she actually shoveled off this table too. And so it actually snowed 8 inches since then. That was quite a storm. As much as I was trying to get all this stuff done before the snow flies, as you can see, the snow is flying, and we're supposed to get a foot to maybe 18 inches of snow by tomorrow, and boy, that's putting a damper on my style here. But we definitely have some things we can still do in the van, so we'll be working on some of that stuff today. Finishing up this electrical system and filling the holes in the ceiling, the staple holes, and I don't know, we'll see where we go from there.
Matt amazes me in how he can design and store an entire van build in his head. My engineering brain would need to spend countless hours sketching out ideas, developing a 3D model, building spreadsheets, and making pages of lists of all the equipment, materials, and exact fasteners and parts. With me in charge, the design and build would likely take years. Luckily, Matt, with all of his expertise, is taking charge. But unfortunately, I don't have access to the blueprints which reside in his head. So I found the best way to support Matt in this build is to find repetitive tasks that I can do on my own. So I've taken on filling the staple holes in the ceiling, installing the wool insulation, and covering and installing the fabric-covered panels. This division of labor allows me the time to tend to the house and pets and keep life beyond the build on track.
After getting the plowing done yesterday, I was able to go to an auto parts store and pick up the lugs that I needed to finish putting in this electrical system. And we were even able to go get some lunch, and then I got that electrical system finished up. Now I'm at a point where the priority on the list is to get this heater in, and then I'll be able to connect up some lights and we'll be able to work in the van. And if you're confused by what I mean by putting the heater in, because we put the heater in a long time ago, right? But what we haven't done is connected up the thermostat and put power to it. And so those are the last 2 pieces that I need to do before we can actually use it. I got all the connections made on this heater, and I went back inside and I just made sure I watched a couple of videos like don't kill your Espar heater, and I'm feeling pretty confident that it's going to go. What we're told is that it might take 3 or 4 rounds of the pumping fuel before it finally primes itself and turns on. So here we go. Going to add power to it first. I just rigged up these little temporary connections here. Oh my goodness, look at that. We've got power to the control module. So the little radiator symbol is flashing and it says off. That means the heater is off. You got calendar, heater, and fan there. So just a quick push on this button and it should turn the heater to on. Well, that didn't work. So we did end up having to troubleshoot to figure out why we couldn't get that heater to turn on. And it turned out that the little connector underneath the van that connects up to the pump, the fuel pump, it has these, in my opinion, funky little connectors. They're little flimsy metal connectors that you have to connect up to the wire. The wire is small gauge, it's like 20 gauge wire. And then you have to connect that little connector to a connector body that then connects to another connector to make that connection. It's 3 places that you can have things go wrong, and it's just a flimsy connection. I was able to finally get it in after about 3 tries to get it so that it's working consistently, but I don't trust it. I don't have a lot of faith in it. It would be much better in my mind if they would just put a couple of leads out there and you could tie the wires together with a wire nut, tape it up, and be done with it. But it is what it is. And now it's working. Now feel the hot air coming out of there. That is so nice. So now that I have the heater working, I was able to actually get all these ground wires and get everything, all the final details connected up on here so I can start turning it on. Now that I have a working heater and I know the batteries are charging, I have 2 ways of charging the battery, and I know I'm going to be wanting to work in here. I'm going to need some lights. So what I've done is just rigged up some temporary power so that I can have lighting in here. So, dun da da da, let's turn on the lights. Woohoo! We have lights.
During the creation of this video, my dad, who has been in home hospice for the last 8 months, began his final journey from this life. It was a time to lay down the cameras, for this was a painful and difficult transition for him, and it required our full devotion to his and our family's needs. My father was the best dad I could have asked for. He instilled in me a love of outdoor activities and sports, and most importantly, a love and appreciation for nature. What stands out to me is that he lived his life simply doing the things he loved and sharing those with others, and in doing so, had a lasting impact on so many. Please be patient as we navigate supporting our family, working on the van build, taking care of ourselves, and releasing videos. Thanks for watching and for being such an important part of Clarity Off Grid.